Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and morning the first day. The days of Genesis are another place where desperate people try to stick millions of years. They claim that the word day does not always refer to a 24-hour day. And they're right. The word day can, in specific contexts, mean more than 24 hours. It can do that even in English. However, as many have pointed out, every time the word day is used in Scripture with the word morning or the word evening or with a number, it always means a typical 24-hour day. As we read through this chapter, we see that God specifically used morning, evening, and a number with the word day. It is as if God were doing everything possible to underscore that these were normal 24-hour days. And still, people in their drive to compromise miss it. Some argue that a few early Christian leaders did not believe in 6 24-hour day creation. Again, they are correct, but not because the early Christians added millions of years into Scripture, quite the opposite. They believed in the mighty God of Scripture and thought that he created everything instantly, using 6 days to help us understand how he did it. Let's face it, for the God of the Scriptures, 6 days is a very long time to create. However, for whatever reason, God chose to take 6 24-hour days to create the universe. The concept of millions of years was only introduced into Scripture when people sought to accommodate Darwin's theory of evolution rather than adhering to the clear teaching of the Bible. In Scripture, the ability to name something is a sign of authority over it. God controls light and darkness, setting its properties and boundaries. Our God controls all things, and he does so out of love for the benefit of his bride, the church. When God delegates to man the ability to name things, it's a delegated authority, never the supreme authority. Only God has supreme authority over what he has created. Those who use delegated authority are responsible to him for how they use it. This verse is a good example of how we know Scripture was divinely inspired. God tells us that there was morning and night before the creation of the sun and moon. All that is needed for this to happen is a light source and a rotating earth. No human being would have written a creation story with morning and night before the sun and moon. This is one of many truth is stranger than fiction history stories we find in the Bible that no human who wanted to be taken seriously would have written. But as the divine author, God writes it as he wants it, and he sometimes seems to take a delight in doing things we would never expect. 5. Night is a creation of God. Although darkness is often taken as a symbol for evil, physical darkness is not evil. We need to get proper rest, and we rest best at night. God only does and creates good. It is Satan and wicked people who take something good and pervert it into something evil. There is no such thing as original evil. Evil is just something good that's abused by humans for their own purposes. 5. It is interesting to note that the first day began in the evening. Jews traditionally count a day from sunset to sunset. This is not to say that the Western idea of morning and then night is wrong, just that this was the way things were originally and still are in some societies. Often we look at life that way as well. We have a saying about seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. After the night, the darkness, the trial, comes the morning, the light, the victory. You can't have a victory without a battle, and you can't have a morning without an evening. 5. The term, the first day, is not a good translation of the Hebrew. A better translation would be day one. It is an emphatic statement that day one is the beginning of all days. The rest of the days in creation week are listed as second, third, and so on, showing a series of consecutive days. But day one is the first of all days. It is truly in the beginning. Before it, there were no days of any kind, let alone millions of years. May the peace and grace of Jesus be yours.